Welcome to 214 Square. It's December 15, 2024, and we're talking again about the German parliamentary election. And we are now 70 days away from election day on February 23rd, 2025, and election campaigns are on full steam. Let's have a short look on the current state of the polls for Germany. So, as you can see, that the union parties, CDU, CSU, are, well, they are more flat. They are not changing a lot. The AfD is winning slightly. Also, well, not moving a lot is the SPD. Then the Greens, the Green Party, um, Alliance 90, the Greens, are now closer to 10% rather than 15%. Winning is the BSW, the Alliance for Sarah Wagenknecht. And also winning again is the FDP. They are now closer to the 5% threshold. But below the 5% threshold is the left, Die Linke. So, we aggregated the polls again. And here is the current state of the election. 31.8% for CDU and CSU, 16.3% for the SPD, Social Democrats, 4.3% not in parliament, the FDP, so they are below the 5% threshold in Germany. Alliance 90, the Greens, or Bündnis 90, die Grünen, is having 12.1%. The left, Die Linke, 3.2%, AfD, 18.7%. Free voters, or Freie Wähler, 0.1%. The Alliance Sarah Wagenknecht, or BSW, Bündnis Sarah Wagenknecht, 6.5% in parliament, and others, many different small parties which wouldn't be in parliament, are having 7.1%. Now let's see who lost and who won. Here you can see, in comparison to last week, that the CDU-CSU lost, it's not much. They lost 0.6%. SPD won slightly with the same 0.6%. FDP also won slightly, 0.3%. The Greens lost almost 1 percentage point with 0.9%. The left lost 0.1%, now 3.2%. AfD won again, almost a percentage point, 0.8%. Free voters unchanged. Bündnis Sarah Wagenknecht won slightly with 0.6%, and others, well, they lost as well, 0.7%. Let's see, how does it look? Again, if we take a closer look. So here again we can see the movements. The CDU-CSU, even though they started strong at the beginning of the campaign at November 5th, well, now they are more closer to 30% rather than 35%, which they have crossed around November 23rd. But winning definitely is the AfD, from around 16% to now almost 20%. The Social Democrats won slightly, and the Greens, well, if you see the beginning and the end, barely changed. Then Alliance Sarah Wagenknecht, BSW, well, they improved definitely from around 6 to 7% to now, 8%. You can see this here. And, well, the FDP and the left are still fighting for survival in the parliament. Apropos parliament, let's see the seat allocation. At the moment, this is the Bundestag, as we would have it if today would be the election. But please be aware that we only look and a rough estimate, and we don't make a differentiation between the first and the second votes. But here it barely changed. But we have some nice experimentation here. What if the FDP would win 5%? Well, in that case, we can see here they would gain 5.6%, of course, because even if with 5%, they would have even more seats in parliament because other parties who have, let's say, 4% wouldn't be in parliament. So it would be more than enough for a Germany coalition, black, red, and yellow or gold. They could also look to maybe have a coalition with some other parties, but it's mostly unlikely. We will talk about coalitions later. But what if the left will get 5%? Well, it wouldn't be really enough to start a left coalition. Not really. And maybe it's also unlikely. If you can see this here, SPD and the Greens together would have more than 30%, but even the rest for the BSW and the Linke, it wouldn't be enough to have the majority in parliament because SPD and AFD, and not SPD, pardon, union parties, CDU and CSU, and the AFD would be too strong. What if FDP and Linke get 5%? Well, we can see it here. Each party would have 5.3%. And in that case, this makes a left coalition even more unlikely because it's highly unlikely that the FDP would have a coalition with the left because they are definitely on two other sides of the political spectrum. So let's see possible coalitions at the moment. So there are CDU, CSU, and SPD. This will be 56%. CDU, CSU, and the Greens 51%. So it's just a thin majority. And we must also say unlikely if you see or hear what the CSU from Bavaria saying that they don't want a coalition with the Greens, and we have already seen in the news that CDU members are already unhappy about the statements from Markus Söder and other Bavarian politicians, and they think it's like they've memorized of the election campaigns of 2021 when Markus Söder wasn't so cooperative in the eyes of the CDU, and well, maybe it will be a déjà vu or maybe not. Another coalition, even though very unlikely, but not impossible, would be CDU CSU with the AFD, the right wingers. This would be 59% in parliament. Also possible CDU CSU SPD and Alliance 90 the Greens or British 90 the Groen. This would be 70%. It wouldn't be necessary, as we can already see with CDU, CSU, and the SPD, but it is possible. And then you have a good majority that would also probably allow you to change parts of the constitution. But as I said, with the resistance about the participation of the Greens in the coalition led by the union parties, it's very unlikely that the Greens would be involved. So it's very likely that the CDU, CSU would look for a coalition with the SPD. So if we're talking now about party expertises, then we can see, for example, that even though in the case of crime and immigration and refugees, CDU and CSU are more different when it's about education, economy and labor, foreign affairs, social security, and also the advocacy for regional or national interests. Of course, these are numbers, post-election numbers of the Landtagswahlen or state elections in Brandenburg. This is an Eastern Germany country, state. And of course, it's not representative for Germany at all, because Germany is big. Germany has a lot of different states, but we can still see how different the parties can be. So if we have another look, not the radar chart, but we have a bar chart, you can see it more. There are some topics where both parties align, like economy and labor, crime and immigration and refugees, even though economy and labor, there's a big gap between AFD and CDU. Reminder, CSU is only in Bavaria. So for the rest of Germany, we're talking about the CDU. And yeah, then we can see foreign affairs. This at the moment is the war between Ukraine and Russia. And social security, justice, and housing. In that case, we are often talking about um, social justice or soziale Gerechtigkeit and advocating regional and national interest. This is representing the interests of East Germany or East Germans, because even after the reunification in the early 90s, East Germans still think or feel that there is a difference between West and East Germany. And in the early 90s, in the 90s in generally, and in the early 2000s, it was the left, the Linke, who has been very popular in East Germany, together with some other parties, but left was seen as a representative for East Germans in politics. Now they are being replaced by the AFD, and this is what the more established parties, even though the AFD is already established in German politics, that they are facing. But let's go ahead. Then we can see the top issues by CDU voters. And here we have the comparison between Niedersachsen or Lower Saxony and Brandenburg. Brandenburg is in orange, Lower Saxony is in dark blue, and here we can see the differences. But please be aware that there are 2 years of difference. Brandenburg was this year, 2024, and Lower Saxony was in 2022. And here you can see that at the beginning of the war in Ukraine, the energy policy was very important, was an issue in Germany, specifically because energy prices spiked up. It was very expensive to heat your house or to heat your home, and this explains this issue. But now, at the moment, for example, in Brandenburg, um, immigration, like illegal immigration, crime, and the economy are top issues. And now back on topic, because this was post-pandemic. Social security and justice and housing was also a case. And we're talking about education. Education is, well, I would say one of the top issues, because people are complaining about the quality of the education in Germany, but sometimes also about the content, like what is being taught and how good is the digitization. Do we need digitization? How do we handle smartphones in classrooms, and so on and so on. Now we can also compare how different is the SPD. Same elections, Lower Saxony and Brandenburg. And here you can see that it was also, of course, the energy policy, but for SPD voters, it was less about immigration, it was less about crime. But of course, economy and labor is an important topic, specifically for a Social Democratic Party, but also education, and we can also see social security and housing. So this is a case. Foreign affairs make a slight difference, but it's not a big issue. Not for Lower Saxony. By the way, just a reminder, Sorry, Brandenburg. It was Brandenburg. Sorry. Just a reminder that Brandenburg in East Germany was and is still, well, let's say, influenced by Russian occupation, if we call it this way, during the Cold War. For those who are not aware of it, East Germany was a part of the Eastern Bloc. They've been part of the Warsaw Pact. And so Russian or Soviet soldiers have been partly deployed in East Germany. And of course, this left an influence. You find many people from the GDR, German Democratic Republic, generations who are speaking Russian and who are more um, open to Russian media than probably to Western media. However, this is not to frame anybody or to say anything against anybody. It's just an explanation so that you understand. Then let's see AFD voters. Again, same parties, same elections, Lower Saxony and Brandenburg. And here we can see that it's a lot about immigration and refugees, also a lot about crime. But here is a big difference, as you can see. The economy and labor and energy policy were more important in Lower Saxony. I already explained the reason for energy policy, of course, but it's interesting to see the big difference here. And as my reminder, um, immigration and refugees were not a big issue in Lower Saxony for the AFD, rather than for the AFD in the east, in Brandenburg. And you can also see that, well, education and social security were not so much an issue for this party. So this is what we can say about the top issues by AFD voters. Again, at the moment, the current model has limitations. And again, the BSW is still a relatively new party and makes it hard to make good, reliable forecasts. And we also have different voting systems on federal level and on state level. We don't have many good organized data sets available. And there are also fewer polls on state and federal level in comparison to the United States. And at the moment, but we are making progress. Current forecasts only take previous elections into account, but not polls. So the current model will be improved until election day. And then, because some people were asking, who is doing this? This is me, Christian Kramp. I studied at Georgia Institute of Technology online in the USA. I'm a dropout, and I also earned my Executive Master of Business Administration at Quantic School of Business and Technology in Washington, D.C. in the United States. Also did this online. Then I have my Bachelor of Arts in Social Sciences from Bielefeld University in Germany, and I have earned several certificates from the Corporate Finance Institute in Canada. And yeah, in the past, I have been working on polls for the last US presidential election, and people asked me to work on the German elections, and yeah, here I am. So yeah, I would say thank you for watching, and please stay tuned, and there will be a next episode next week. Thank you very much.